This is CBC Vancouver News.
Air Canada apologizes to a disabled Prince George man after staff told him to drag himself off a flight.
Without us saying anything, a lot of people are afraid to.
While another BC passenger says he was dropped trying to leave his plane.
They weren't listening to anything we said.
Plus, parking problem.
It's about your own human dignity as well. If you are working on the long haul and you don't have space to park, to rest, you don't want to do that work.
Surrey wants to find more land for semi-truck drivers to put their rigs. And what singing superstar is coming to Vancouver?
She's smart, she's witty, she's beautiful.
So she's gonna be popping for those 3 days, that's for sure.
Swifties rejoice as Taylor Swift announces 3 shows at BC Place next year. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. I'm Janella Hamilton. Air Canada has apologized to a disabled BC man after staff told him to drag himself off his landed flight. The airline admits it violated disability regulations. As John Hernandez reports, the passenger hopes others who have had similar experiences will speak out and spark change.
In fact, I didn't expect it to go this big.
It's been a whirlwind week for Prince George's Rodney Hodgins after he went public with an experience he called dehumanizing.
I felt humiliated.
Hodgins, who has spastic cerebral palsy and uses a motorized wheelchair, was on a flight from Vancouver to Las Vegas in late August. Usually, staff will help people with disabilities off the plane, but this time they didn't.
How am I supposed to get to the front of the plane? I can't walk.
Staff told Hodgins and his wife that they had to get to the front of the plane without their help.
I hauled myself over the seats. I was grabbing onto the seats. She was on the floor moving my legs. Then I got to the end and I couldn't go anymore because there was nothing for me to hang on to.
The story made international headlines and ignited this back and forth inside the House of Commons.
Under the Liberals' watch, Air Canada has been allowed to mistreat Canadians while making billions in profits.
Mr. Speaker, I was horrified to learn how Rodney Hodgins was treated by Air Canada.
They actually used his name. So that was very impactful.
In the days since, an outpouring of support and stories from others who have endured similar struggles.
Without us saying anything, a lot of people are afraid to.
On top of that, this week Air Canada apologized via email, saying we have to regrettably admit that Air Canada was in violation of the disability regulations. It offered both of them coupons worth $1,000 each. But Rodney wants something else.
I want you to stick whatever you were going to give me back into your company to develop a program to make people with disabilities have an easier time traveling with your airline.
Canada's transportation agency is investigating the incident, while Rodney hopes his story will encourage others to speak out. John Hernandez, CBC News, Vancouver.
We're also learning more about a second incident involving Air Canada and a person who uses a wheelchair. A BC comedian with cerebral palsy says he was dropped and injured while trying to exit a flight. As Michelle Gassup reports, he's now calling for Air Canada to improve its training to keep all passengers safe. And a warning, this story contains images some people may find distressing.
I've never taken a step in my life, which is ironic because I'm a stand-up comedian that's never stood up.
As a comedian with spastic quad cerebral palsy, Ryan Lachance tries to find the fun in any situation. But a recent experience flying home from a comedy festival left him in pain and angry. Upon landing in Vancouver, an Air Canada crew declined to fetch the ego lift he needs to get out of his seat, and instead insisted on lifting him themselves.
And they kept saying, "Oh no, we got this, we got this." And they kept trying to lift me up and put me in the aisle chair. And I'm a big guy, and those aisle chairs aren't very big, so like my legs wouldn't fit on.
I feel stuck myself. Hold it.
His care assistant told the crew 4 times Lachance needed the ego lift, then watched in horror as he was dropped on the ground, landing hard. She started filming.
2, 3.
The guy holding his leg pulled, and Ryan just flew off the seat, landed on his butt, hurt his hip more, and got some bruising. I looked at the flight attendants for some help, and they were just handing me gifts from first class to compensate for the poor behavior that was being displayed in front of me. They literally said, "I'm giving you this so that you don't hate us."
It took Lachance an hour and a half to get off the plane. He was bedridden for 3 days after the accident. When Lachance filed a formal complaint, the airline offered him $500 in flight credits. In a statement to the CBC, Air Canada said, "This customer did not receive the level of service we normally provide. We are in communication with him in order to resolve this matter to his satisfaction."
I know that this happens to people all the time, and I just wanted to be another voice for the people that didn't think they could have a voice. I just want this to change. The equipment's available, the processes are available to teach their staff on how to do this all correctly, so just take the time and do it.
Lachance has said the experience has made him nervous to fly, but he'll keep traveling to perform in comedy shows and won't stop advocating for others to feel safe. Michelle Gassoub, CBC News, Vancouver.
The city of Surrey is looking to shift gears when dealing with truck traffic. It's searching for land that could be turned into semi-truck parking spots, saying they are short 2,000 spaces. And as Liam Britton reports, truckers also want more amenities.
Gurdeep Sandhu says he's not looking to live like a baller, but for about 85% of the year, this is his crib.
Hi, Gurdeep Sandhu. Welcome to my truck. We got a refrigerator here, we got a microwave, dash cam, satellite.
He's been long-haul trucking for 24 years across North America, but he says even living minimally is tough when facilities for workers like rest stops, showers, and places to sleep are few and far between in the Lower Mainland.
Or we have to be sleeping before entering the city, like 100 miles before we entering the city. That's the biggest problem. Then we have to deal with the traffic, and we can't even go to the appointment time.
Perhaps rarest of all in BC is affordable monthly truck parking.
Actually, Alberta and Manitoba is very reasonable, $100. With trailer, they charge only $200, and here is $700. It's like 3 times, more expensive.
The industry says it's a poor reflection of what they can offer, especially to prospective workers who are badly needed to keep trade moving.
End of the day, it's about your own human dignity as well. If you are working on the long haul and you don't have space to park, to rest, you don't want to do that work.
But the city of Surrey wants to do something about it. Council has told staff to seek out city land that could be used as truck parking and find proponents to lease and operate truck parking facilities with it.
Industrial land is where you park trucks, and industrial land is some of the most expensive land that we have. It's $5, $6, $7 million an acre. When you're parking 21 to 25 trucks per acre, it economically does not make sense. And that's why the city needs to step up.
Bain says it will be good for truckers and the community.
There is just no space for them to go. So they're forced to park in rest areas. They're forced to park in residential communities. They're forced to park in their own driveways on agricultural land. And this puts them right up against homes, families, and children. And this is where we're seeing a huge problem.
But the industry says the problem goes well beyond Surrey. With so much truck traffic flowing east from Pacific ports, there's a need for the provincial government to address the problem across BC. The transportation minister says rubber is hitting the road on the issue, including a new truck stop in Surrey opening in weeks.
That'll provide 110 new stalls in state-of-the-art facilities with showers, lighting, electrified stalls, all of that good stuff.
So when it comes to truck parking lots, the industry says there aren't exactly, well, lots. And they say unless multiple levels of government step up to resolve this problem, workers and the economy could be stalled. Liam Britton, CBC News, Surrey.
Mounties say a fake report of a kidnapping has led to a huge drug bust at a North Vancouver warehouse.
The warehouse appears to have been set of a drug trafficking lab where drugs were stored, prepared, packaged to be shipped and sold on the streets.
Police say they received a report on Halloween of a man kidnapped at gunpoint at that warehouse. Their officers say they seized several kilograms of marijuana and magic mushrooms. 2 men from Surrey are now facing trafficking charges. Police say nothing suggests someone was actually kidnapped, and the allegation may have been used to get officers to the warehouse. A BC provincial court judge has released video of a 2017 arrest that seriously injured a suspect and led to assault charges against 3 Vancouver police officers. A warning: some people may find parts of this video upsetting. This video was captured by surveillance cameras at the commercial Broadway SkyTrain station. It shows VPD constables Brandon Blue and Bo Spencer and now retired constable Gregory Jackson punching and kneeing David Cowie. Court has heard at the time of that arrest, Cowie was suspected of obstruction and theft from a parkade and was fleeing from police. He suffered 4 broken ribs and a collapsed lung. The trial is scheduled to resume in December. As temperatures drop, community groups in the downtown east side are calling on the city and province to urgently help people without homes.
I hope they'll do stuff, and all of their own studies show it's cheaper to house people than keep them on the street, so that should be good motivation.
Those groups have released 9 recommendations aimed at housing people during the winter. They include opening more shelter beds and extending leases for modular housing developments. Advocates say they did 90 interviews over the past year with community groups and people facing homelessness.
The stories we heard ranged from the deep sense of community and solidarity that people have built down here to the soul-crushing reality of persevering through long lines and complicated housing applications, only to be put on a multi-year waiting list and have to battle to survive in the process.
The most recent count shows more than 4,800 people identify as homeless around Metro Vancouver. Well, Swifties, brace yourselves. After much anticipation, Taylor Swift is bringing her Eras Tour to Vancouver. Fans here have been pleading for shows since the summer when Swift announced she would play Toronto next November, the only Canadian city planned for her tour. But now she's slated to play 3 dates at BC Place in December of next year. And here's what fans had to say.
Taylor Swift's Eras Tour is coming to Vancouver for 3 nights next year. Let's see what people have to say. Hear about the news about Taylor Swift?
I did. I'm so excited. I'm going to try to get tickets.
What makes you a Taylor Swift fan?
I've been listening to her since I was like kindergarten, so I know like a lot of her songs.
Her concerts literally changed the economy in the U.S., so I think her coming to Canada would be great for Canada. So, Tay, you know, if you're coming, you know, I'll be the Romeo to your Juliet. Wait, I have a girlfriend.
Not excited at all.
Really?
No, Beyonce should come back.
She's smart, she's witty, she's beautiful. More than just an artist, she's a businesswoman and an inspiration and a leader.
3 concert dates for next year in Vancouver.
I'm glad you told me because now I can get on the list.
So you're excited?
100%, yeah.
I'd say I'm pretty excited, but my hopes are kind of like within bounds because I feel like nobody gets a registration link.
Yeah, and then resale tickets are...
Oh, disgusting.
3 concerts in Vancouver next year.
I think it's not enough.
Really?
Yeah, I think she's going to sell out of all of them within 20 seconds as soon as they go up, and hopefully I'll be able to get a ticket. 2, 1 for my sister.
You're not my homeland anymore. Yeah, it's that one. It's a different thing now. Yeah.
Look at you go. Look at
Let's
you go. Taylor Swift coming to Vancouver.
I work in clubs, so it's going to bring a lot of people out to clubs. I'm going to get a lot of song requests, for real. Girls love breakup songs, man.
So ticket registration is open till this Saturday, and then you can buy your tickets on November 9th if you're planning to go. Maria Scatz, CBC News, Vancouver.
Numbers suggest there are more homes for sale in Greater Vancouver than there are buyers. The Real Estate Board of Greater Vancouver says an increase in newly listed properties is giving more choices to some home buyers, but sales remain below long-term averages. The board says home sales last month were up 3.7% compared to recorded sales during October of last year, but last month's total was still almost 30% below the 10-year seasonal average. Latin American communities in Vancouver marked Day of the Dead this week. It's an ancient tradition commemorating family and friends who have died. Today, a parade took place in the downtown east side.
Basically, was the idea that our ancestors come back to eat with us, to be with us on this day. So we do altars, as you can see here. We put pictures of them in the altar, food, decorations, and many other things that they liked.
Yesterday, the community celebrated All Saints' Day, the Guatemalan version of Day of the Dead.
We normally go to the cemetery and visit the ones that have passed away.
I think our traditions ultimately come down to being with family, you know, remembering our loved ones.
I like that I can put up food and their pictures and the flowers.
Organizers say the events are significant as it brings people from various Latin American countries together, allowing them to feel at home and close to their loved ones.
You know what, even that they're far, they can still feel that connected. I think that's the response, that they bring their friends, and I think that's some of the things that Latin Vancouver trying to always solve, is how we can help people to adapt, but also, you know, integrate and share.
Organizers say about 5,000 people attended the events. This is the 5th year of the celebration in Vancouver. A hatchery in Port Moody says it's struggling to raise coho this year, and it's not because of the drought. That story up next. Thank you for staying with us during our commercial-free live stream. A recent report says 1 in 10 seniors in Nova Scotia are living in poverty. Some Cape Breton residents, 65 years and older, say money is getting tighter each year, but they're making it work with the support of family and friends. Erin Potty shares some of their stories.
Mary Fury is not where she thought she'd be at 70 years old. After working all her life, she's now living with her son because she could no longer afford home repairs.
I realized that I had to put on a new step, and I just couldn't afford to do it. So I knew then that the only choice I had was to sell the house because I couldn't keep up. I couldn't keep it up.
Fury is a member of the Reserve Mines Seniors Club. She and her friends there are in the same boat. They're trying to get by with what little they have.
Well, I would have loved to stay there until I died or sickness, whatever made me leave it, right? Because I always said I didn't want to be a burden to anyone.
Some Nova Scotia seniors say they're not sure where they'd be without the help of others.
I'd be out on the road, I guess. I don't know. Would have been hard.
Elsie Ellsworth is used to hard times. She raised 6 children, and things got really tough after losing her husband to a heart attack 33 years ago. Right now, she says her family is keeping her afloat.
You got to be careful of your money. You got to look after it. And they make sure I have spent the money and that. They make sure I get all right. I was good to my kids, and they were good to me.
Mariette Pond quit her job years ago after her husband lost his arm in a Cape Breton mine. Today, she says things are particularly tough.
Well, now we're trying to get a heat pump and not having any success with it, you know. You just turn your oil down a little bit, put on another sweater.
A recent report by Food Banks Canada found that nearly 1 in 10 of Nova Scotia's seniors are living in poverty, and that the rate of poverty for that group is roughly 2/3 higher in Nova Scotia than the national average. The report recommends the province update its poverty reduction strategy with a particular focus placed on people over age 65. A local advocate says any improvements should involve feedback from seniors themselves.
We can't make decisions on helping people out of poverty, helping people stay away from food banks without talking to those people themselves and find out what their needs really are.
The Nova Scotia government says it has a number of programs in place to help seniors, but it recognizes there's more to do. Van Gorder and the other seniors say it's sometimes difficult to access funding that could help them. They suggest the province change the way that people aged 65 and over can access those funds. Erin Potty, CBC News, Reserve Mines.
A salmon hatchery in Port Moody says it has struggled to raise coho this year. They say they're having trouble keeping water flowing to support the hatchery, and it's not just because of the drought.
My name's Dave Benny. I've been volunteering for the Port Moody Ecological Society for 30 years. I teach school classes and environmental education to students coming through. This is we call our duck pond. So the kids all get a sieve and they all look for aquatic insects all along the edge of this pond here. Our hatchery raises coho salmon, and we usually get about 15,000 a year. And then we raise them and we'll spread them out to another creek in the south of Port Moody's. Why salmon are important? Because it's like a species that feeds everything. We've had a bear in here eating our fish and there's carcasses. Well, it becomes fish fertilizer for the forest. There's all sorts of other wildlife depend on salmon to get them through the winter. That protein, that rich nutrients. The drought this year has been really hard because the creek's really low because it's all subdivision up on the hillside up here. The water goes on the roofs, on the driveways, and goes down the storm systems and into the creek like right now. Instead of soaking into the ground and taking weeks to soak out, now it's down the creek and gone, so we don't get a steady flow anymore. We have a side channel up here, we call our side channel. Normally we had lots of water to feed it, and it was never a problem. But this year we're having troubles keeping it flowing. We've got salmon in there spawning, keeping water in our coho pond, which is here behind me. It has between 8,000 and 10,000 coho fry in it right now, and being able to operate the hatchery. Incubation room takes constant flow of water in there, and then we have tanks with fish, adult fish sitting in them right now. So trying to balance that water out and then the water's dropping is kind of the challenge, big challenge right now for us. Ultimate goal would be we wouldn't have to have this, the fish could come back normally, but it's such urban impact and it's so drastically changed the system. I don't know if we'll ever be able to have it this natural again.
And here we have a live shot of Burrard Inlet looking towards North Vancouver. Darius Madavi will join us next with our full forecast. It's Throwback Thursday, which means it's time to do a deep dive into our archives. The world-famous killer whale Skana was part of the first pod of orcas captured and the second killer whale brought to the Vancouver Aquarium in 1967. Skana brought in thousands of visitors, becoming one of the biggest attractions of the aquarium. This is a piece remembering her after her death.
She was one of our biggest, certainly one of our most lovable attractions. The 18-year-old mammal was an integral part of Vancouver life. Over the years, she collected thousands of friends, young and old alike, who came to watch her perform or simply swim regally in her aquarium home. Skana's welfare has been very much a public affair. Even her name, an Indian word meaning killer whale, was picked after a citywide contest. So it was natural that when she sickened 2 weeks ago with an infection in her reproductive tract, letters and phone calls flooded in. But Skana failed to improve. She refused to eat and didn't respond to daily injections of antibiotics. She died early this morning as 2 vets and curator Gil Hewitt stood by.
Skana's been with us for 13 years now, more than 13 years. So you get to know her and you get to respect her and you get to love her. And you know, it is like losing, you know, somebody that you care, a human being that you care very much for.
With her great bulk hoisted onto a van, Skana made her final long ride through her Stanley Park home. She had been there since March 1967, when the aquarium bought her from the operator of the boat show. It was the longest time ever that a killer whale had survived in captivity. Aquarium staff asked that the doors not be opened until noon Sunday out of respect for Skana. It was only then that members of the public learned with a shock that their big, gentle friend was dead.
Oh, it's sad. Because we used to watch the whale show.
That's really too bad.
Jeez. Really sad.
Curator Hewitt describes Skana's illness as mysterious. Until the results of the autopsy are in, no one will quite know for sure why she died. Behind her, Skana leaves her buddy Hayek, the teenager killer whale. And for many Vancouver folk, a lot of delightful memories.
Hi, I'm Amy Bell, and here's what's in your CBC Vancouver inbox. With the changes to how Canada is able to access journalism online and on social media, we want to assure you that when you're looking for CBC News, you'll always be able to find us. Wherever you are in BC, local news, breaking stories, and the latest from around the world is at your fingertips any time of the day with the free CBC News app and online at cbcnews.ca. For news you can trust, download the CBC News app and stay connected wherever you are.
The weather update is brought to you by Direct Buy Furnace. To cool and clean the air in your home, call Direct Buy Furnace. Installing Trane, the most reliable heating and cooling brand.
Darius Madavi joins us now with a look at our weather. A little bit of a wetter day to the start of the day, I should say, Darius. Is that rain going to be sticking around?
Yeah, so we get a bit of a break tomorrow. We still have plenty of cloud, but a bit of a sunny break at times. But the next system is going to roll through tomorrow night, so we got a wet weekend ahead. But you're right, we did see considerable precipitation on the south coast, easing up as we got later into the evening. So just some scattered showers popping up across the most southern part of the island and the lower mainland. But the remnants of that system you can see here blowing up as snow for the more central parts of the province. And if we look ahead to the next system we can see roll through, it's going to hit tomorrow afternoon on the western coast of the island, the west coast of the island, and then it's going to roll through to the rest of the south coast by the evening. We're talking some pretty considerable rainfall, but unlike the last system that came through, which mostly hit the southern part of the island, this one's going to be mostly concentrated in the north. And then as that system rolls through the province, it's going to come much further north in the interior than the last one did. So expect some snow in the north and even potentially some showers popping up in the southern interior throughout the weekend, as well as we have several of these systems start to roll through even into the beginning of next week, it looks like. Now, if we look at accumulation, some of it starts, you can see this tomorrow night, but the majority comes overnight, Friday into Saturday, and you can see some fairly significant amounts. Now, this is one of the more dramatic models because most of them don't show up to 150 millimeters coming to the central parts of the island, but regardless, most of them do show, or all of them actually do show, amounts nearing or just over 100 millimeters for some parts of the island, most of them agreeing that it'll be the more northern part of the south coast that gets the most rain. But for tomorrow, during the day, just expect some cloud and the beginnings of some of these drizzles or the remnants of those systems further north. But it's tomorrow night that we really see that heavy rain start to roll through the coast and even some parts of the central interior. But here in Vancouver, we've got a bit of a depressing forecast, plenty of rain ahead, a little bit of sun breaks tomorrow, but that's probably going to be it for a while. So enjoy it while it's here.
It is definitely sweater weather season, one of my favorite times of year. Thank you so much, Darius.
Thank you, Janella.
That is your late news for this Thursday. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. For news anytime, visit our website, cbc.ca/bc. Your next local news is on the early edition on CBC Radio 1. That starts tomorrow morning at 5:30. Have a great night.